parking lot panic. A white woman draws her gun on a black family. An apparent bump at a Michigan restaurant escalates into this life-threatening situation. COVID crisis inside one Florida hospital as infections surge. 10,000 new cases in the state today. Doctors say they're seeing more severe cases and some younger victims. New reports of young people actually throwing COVID parties in Alabama to see who gets it first. In Texas, masks are now mandatory in public, as a Houston ICU says it's now at 100% capacity. Dr. Anthony Fauci warns we're at risk of losing control of this pandemic. As President Trump calls the report that Russians paid to have U.S. troops killed a hoax, Russian leader Vladimir Putin tightens his grip on power, potentially becoming president for the rest of his life. Longtime companion of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, under arrest, accused of luring underage girls to be sexually abused.
Maxwell enticed minor girls, got them to trust her, then delivered them into the trap that she and Epstein had set for them.
Where the FBI tracked her down and where the case goes now after Epstein's suicide threatened to close it. Summer safety, with many Americans looking to escape. A look at how you can keep yourself safe if you're traveling. And while many global citizens of this planet have been focused elsewhere lately, a reminder that many scientists say the planet remains under threat by climate change. Our new series called It's Not Too Late. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. The U.S. broke yet another record today with more than 53,000 COVID cases reported. That's the largest single-day total so far. Today, the Trump administration's COVID testing coordinator told Congress, we are not flattening the curve right now. Increasingly, public officials are joining the growing chorus, singing the same tune, imploring Americans to wear a mask. In Texas today, with cases surging, a stark change of tone from Governor Abbott, who's now mandating masks in all counties with more than 20 cases after he previously blocked local officials from penalizing residents who went without a mask. Today in Florida, the vice president said wearing a mask and good hygiene is not an either-or choice. And on the front lines tonight in Florida, doctors are worried about what a holiday weekend without masks or social distancing might mean for hospitals already at capacity. Our Victor Kendo leads us off.
Tonight, doctors on the front lines suiting up for battle. Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami seeing a surge in COVID patients.
Is your floor at capacity right now?
Yes, we're even opening up different units at this point to be able to meet the demands of the patients that are coming in.
The wave of new patients leaving staff exhausted.
The way I see it now, if things don't change and people don't take it a little more serious, in the next 2 weeks, who knows where we will be.
The country hitting 50,000 new cases in one day this week. America's top infectious disease doctor warning America is losing the war against the virus.
I think it's pretty obvious, Howard, that we are not going in the right direction. Right now, if you look at the number of cases, it's quite disturbing. And we're setting records practically every day of new cases. That clearly is not the right direction.
Despite cases rising in 38 states and 19 pausing or reversing reopenings, President Trump today suggested things are under control.
We have some areas where we're putting out the flames or the fires, and that's working out well. The crisis is being handled.
Vice President Pence traveling to coronavirus hotspot Florida, which reported a record 10,000 new infections. The virus claiming 67 lives, including the state's youngest victim, an 11-year-old boy.
No one wants to see these numbers where they are, or no one wants to see them go up.
In Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks, where Memorial Day pool parties made national headlines for the lack of social distancing and masks, authorities are now preparing for a record number of people for the 4th of July weekend.
I know that we're getting ready to move into our 4th of July weekend, and it makes me really nervous. I know after the 4th, that we could potentially see another surge.
Authorities in Tuscaloosa, Alabama are outraged over a new disturbing trend, saying young people are throwing coronavirus parties with a prize payout for the first person who gets infected.
People are taking all the precautions that they have, and then you have mindless and foolish behavior that are taking this pandemic for granted.
Alarming new numbers tonight involving children. Oregon seeing a rapid surge of infections among children younger than 10. In Texas, more than 300 were infected in daycare centers, and at least 30 students and staff tested positive at a school outside Phoenix. In Alabama, a 4-month-old baby among 5 children hospitalized.
If you think this doesn't affect young people, it actually affects young people.
New infections putting a strain on testing, staggering lines again in Texas. The governor today, despite earlier hesitation, now making masks mandatory statewide. As 26 states report rising hospitalizations, one medical center in Houston says ICUs hit 100% capacity. In El Paso, high school English teacher Rene Chavez was also taken to the hospital on June 3rd and never left. He died late last week.
I never thought I would have to have a life without him because he was my best friend.
His wife Annette also got the virus, but recovered. Arizona seeing record hospitalizations. ICUs now at 89% capacity.
I think we let our guard down a little bit.
Beaches across Southern California are closed for the busy 4th of July weekend, and in West Hollywood, not wearing a mask could cost you $300.
Victor Oquendo joins us now from Miami. Victor, you've seen firsthand just how busy the medical workers there are. How are they coping, and what's the general sense among people who are on the front lines as they experience this surge?
Well, Lindsay, right now here at Jackson Memorial Hospital, they have space, but they also have twice as many COVID patients now than they did during their peak in April. Today, 315 patients. Just a few months ago, it was around 160, and they are bracing for more. The mayor of Miami Beach now saying that if the hospitals can't treat everybody who comes in, nobody wants to see it, but we'll have to head back to a shelter in place. Lindsay?
All right, Victor Oquendo, thanks so much. And for more analysis of the alarming rise in COVID cases, we bring in President Trump's former Homeland Security advisor and ABC contributor Tom Bossert. Tom, thanks as always for joining us.
Thanks, Lindsay.
So with the majority of states seeing cases rise in that grim number, 50,000 new cases in a day, I want to start by asking, how did we get here? I mean, you worked on disaster preparedness at the White House. What would you say has been the single biggest mistake made?
Yeah, Lindsay, it's hard to pinpoint any one mistake in this as we try to analyze all the different behaviors that we would have never predicted, and all the protests that have intervened, and the various different, thoughts and schools of thought and political arguments. But as I think this through, I think maybe the biggest mistake might have been the initial one, the blanket shutdown across the country. What it did was it taught some people the wrong lessons in this country. Those people in places that didn't have a lot of virus, they thought that the shutdown was either premature or unnecessary or an overreaction or all three. They went out, they socialized, they didn't get sick, and they learned wrongly that they can get away with it. And now, as the virus has spread to their neck of the woods, so to speak, they're learning the hard lesson that no one's immune from this virus. And we're seeing the numbers in Arizona, Florida, all through the Sun Belt go up dramatically.
And we remember those numbers. I mean, the COVID cases spiked after Memorial Day weekend, and those images of the Ozark pool parties in Missouri, for example. And now we hear that party is happening again. So how concerned are you as we have the 4th of July coming up now?
To be honest, I'm angry at this point. How many people have spent so much time and money and sacrificed in order to buy us the time to control this disease, and now we're frittering it away. We've seen all of the benefits roll back that we purchased with really economic calamity, and now we're going to have to purchase them a second time. I'm worried because if people don't change their behaviors this summer, they're not going to be able to send their kids back to school this fall. I think people have to realize that they have to earn the reduction and the maintenance of that reduction in this virus by behaving in a disciplined fashion all summer. Otherwise, they're going to want something and not get it, and they're going to complain all over again. And so this is very alarming, not only for the loss of life that we're about to see and the suffering, but also the economic consequences are so predictable, and it's sad.
Right, so much collateral damage all around. And as we've been reporting, at least 19 states, including California, Texas, and Florida, have now reversed, paused, or delayed their reopening plans. So will this help, or is it too little too late? And is there now just too much COVID-19 already out there?
It's such an important question. People are getting the sense from the coverage that maybe it's inevitable, so let's go out and do whatever we planned on doing anyway. That's not the case. We can change the outcomes by changing our behaviors. It's not a problem to blame on any one leader or two leaders. It's an individual responsibility for all of us to make our collective sacrifices. It's not too late. There's a lot of disease, and I fear that Arizona, on the leading edge of this, is going to see some real sorrow and sickness in the coming coming weeks. But it's not too late even there for them to change their behaviors to get this disease back under control.
I know you say you don't want to point fingers at a particular politician, but just curious, as a former Trump advisor, if you were with him still right now, would you say, Mr. President, you've got to start wearing a mask, you've got to start imploring people to do so?
No, absolutely. I was very encouraged to see him start to change his messaging on that this week. I'd like to see him add to that change in message, a change in his behavior. I think we should see the president wearing a mask a few times here in the coming weeks, not just telling people if they want to. Remember, it's not to tell people if they want to or if they think it's in their interest to wear the mask, they should go ahead and do it. That's the wrong caveat. The mask isn't about protecting the wearer, as you know, Lindsay. It's about each person that wears it protecting everyone else. They might be sick, they might not know it, and they're contributing to the spread if they don't wear that mask.
Right, and somehow this has all become so politicized. But finally, if we don't get those numbers down, how bad do you think that things could really get this fall?
Yeah, these are pretty troubling numbers. You know, the microbiology and the math behave in a consistent, predictable way. We heard Dr. Fauci predict that we could get to 100,000 new cases a day, not the 52,000 or 55,000 that we've been seeing this week. If that happens, and remember, in the Northeast, we had a collective 38 million people affected in February and March or at risk in the populations of Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. Now, just those 3 states I talked about, Florida and Arizona, and Texas, they total 90 million people in their population. So if Dr. Fauci's prediction is right, and we see a case fatality rate of 0.5%, that which we've seen to date in this country, that could total 300,000 deaths, additional deaths in the United States this year. I hope we don't get to that.
Right, just hard to comprehend those numbers. All right, Tom, thank you so much, as always, for your insight. And now to an arrest that was noted around the globe. Ghislaine Maxwell, the longtime companion of Jeffrey Epstein, is now behind bars, accused of recruiting underage girls for sexual abuse by Epstein and others. The FBI closed in on her hideout in New Hampshire. ABC's Eva Pilgrim has those details.
Tonight, Ghislaine Maxwell, longtime companion of accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, is behind bars. The FBI quietly keeping tabs on the British socialite for months, moving in to arrest her at a home dubbed Tucked Away, a 156-acre property in New Hampshire she bought in cash for more than $1 million.
She had slithered away to a gorgeous property in New Hampshire, continuing to live a life of privilege while her victims live with the trauma inflicted upon them years ago.
Maxwell today facing a federal judge accused of facilitating Epstein's sex crimes by helping him recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse 3 unnamed teenage victims between 1994 and 1997. One victim as young as 14 years old.
Maxwell enticed minor girls, got them to trust her, then delivered them into the trap that she and Epstein had set for them. All the while, she was setting them up to be sexually abused by Epstein and in some cases by Maxwell herself.
The alleged abuse taking place at Maxwell's London home and Epstein's luxury properties in Manhattan, Palm Beach, and New Mexico. Maxwell is also being sued by 3 women who allege she and Epstein worked together to abuse them, including Annie Farmer, whose lawsuit alleges she was 16 when she met Epstein and Maxwell through her older sister, Maria. She spoke to ABC News in 2019.
What I understood was that Maria had a very wealthy boss and that he might want to help me with school.
Farmer says Epstein promised to help get her into an Ivy League school, flying her to his New Mexico ranch where she expected to meet other students. Instead, she says she was alone with Epstein and Maxwell and claims Maxwell inappropriately touched her.
They were master manipulators. I think that it's a particular type of sickness that they displayed in taking advantage of, the love you have for a sibling.
Epstein died in an apparent suicide while awaiting trial. Another Epstein accuser, Virginia Giuffre, claims in court filings that Maxwell trained her as a teenage sex slave for Epstein and that the pair directed her to have sex with many, quote, powerful men, including Prince Andrew, as she described to the BBC last year.
Ghislaine tells me that I have to do for Andrew what I do for Jeffrey. And that made me sick.
Maxwell has denied all allegations of sex trafficking. Prince Andrew has denied having sex with Giuffre and doesn't recall meeting her. But Epstein's alleged victims have long called for Maxwell's arrest.
We need to get to the bottom of everybody who was involved with that, starting with Ghislaine Maxwell.
And for more now, let's bring in Eva Pilgrim. And Eva, you report that the FBI had been keeping tabs on Maxwell for months. So why did they wait so long to arrest her? And do we know why this happened today?
Lindsay, this is what we know. We know that federal authorities were watching her the entire time. Authorities say that she moved at least 2 times and that she was having mail delivered to her under a different name. Lindsay.
All right, Eva Pilgrim, thanks so much for your reporting. All right, let's get some more analysis on this case and bring in Jessica Roth, a former New York federal prosecutor and professor at Cardozo Law. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure.
So I want to ask you about the timing of this arrest. I mean, this is a year after Epstein was indicted and after the FBI had been tracking her for months. So what do you make of that?
The timing is certainly intriguing that here we are about a year after Epstein was charged and arrested. We're also about 2 weeks out from Jeffrey Berman having been ousted as U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York. So those are, important points of reference, I think. I'm not sure what to make of them yet. I think we're still going to be watching to see what else we learn. Some other sort of milestone events that I noted today, thinking about this and doing some research, include that in June, a judge approved a compensation fund for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein that was put together through litigation brought by the Attorney General in the Virgin Islands. And I think that fund went into effect June 15th. So that's interesting to think about. If I were still a prosecutor, I might take comfort from knowing that that fund is up and running to compensate the victims, regardless of the outcome of any criminal case that I might pursue now. So that's an interesting thing to think about, again, for context. And then, of course, there's the ongoing civil litigation involving Maxwell, including the ongoing release of documents from some of the civil litigation filed against her. A couple of months back, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals had ruled that some of those documents had to be released to the public, and there's been this sort of steady release of those documents. There were filings even yesterday by lawyers for Maxwell opposing the release of some of those documents. And so it may be that prosecutors felt that their hand was forced a little bit here because perhaps they thought that the release of more damaging information from that litigation would have motivated Maxwell to flee, more so even than before.
And Maxwell's indictment covers a time period in the 90s, but Epstein's charges covered a much larger period. So is that significant?
Certainly, that is another thing that jumped out to me right away. Like the time frame for the Maxwell indictment is 1994 to 1997. Whereas the time frame for the Epstein indictment is 2002 to 2005. And there's no reason, nothing we're aware of, to suggest that they parted ways between those two time periods. So I think that's quite interesting that the Southern District focused these charges on that earlier time frame. In the press conference today, Audrey Strauss, who's the acting U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York, characterized the Maxwell charges as a prequel to the Epstein charges. And in fact, they read just like that. We have exactly the same pattern of conduct just happening at an earlier point in time.
Just a prequel there. Okay. And this has been handled by your old office. How would you prosecute a case like this? And what kind of key facts do you need to establish?
Well, I mean, the most important evidence in this case is going to be the testimony of the victims. And certainly many of them are already on record accusing Maxwell of having been intimately involved in Jeffrey Epstein's crimes in the ways described in the indictment that was filed today, as having groomed them, been in communication with them to set up appointments, and even having been physically present for and participated in some of the sexual abuse. So the testimony of those victims will be critical, and I'd be working with those victims to be comfortable, make sure that they're comfortable, and we've thoroughly prepared their testimony. But then I'd be looking for corroboration, and there should be plenty of that here in the nature of documents. There were a lot of payments being made here, a lot of money moving around. There were plane trips taken for the victims, and in fact, that's part of the charges here, is that Maxwell engaged in the interstate transportation of minors for the purpose of criminal sexual acts. So there's going to be records of that travel. There should be phone records. And then, of course, other corroborating testimony of non-victims, maybe the pilots, other witnesses, housekeepers, people who would have had firsthand knowledge, if not direct, then circumstantial about what was happening.
And given your history, I'm sure you've seen and heard it all. What kind of defense do you think that you might get from Maxwell?
Well, she's already accused the victims of lying. That's been her defense in the civil litigation that's been brought against her, saying that this just didn't happen. What's sort of interesting here is that 2 of the charges that were filed against Maxwell today were perjury charges, alleging that she lied under oath in 2016 in a deposition in the context of that civil litigation when she effectively denied having participated in this criminal activity. So I would expect that the first line of attack is simply just a factual denial of her involvement, and perhaps suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein, who is now dead, was solely responsible and not her.
All right, Jessica Roth, thank you so much. We really appreciate talking to you. And now to the state of the economy. A record 4.8 million jobs were restored in June, the unemployment rate falling to 11.1%, according to the monthly jobs report out today. But millions of Americans are still out of work since the pandemic hit, and with the virus surging again in recent days, some workers are losing their jobs now for a second time as businesses hit the pause button. Here's ABC's chief business and economics correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis.
Tonight, 3 out of 10 Americans who lost their jobs during the shutdowns now back at work. The president eager to relay those record-breaking jobs numbers to the American people.
Today's announcement proves that our economy is roaring back. It's coming back extremely strong.
But critics like presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden were quick to point out that many states have started rolling back or pausing plans to reopen parts of their economies this month, too.
This report measures job gains as of June the 12th. In the days since, we've seen cases spiking around the country. Some businesses closed down again.
The rollback sending employees like Dallas bartender Randy Heitzman, who returned to work in May, back to the unemployment line.
I got furloughed with almost no notice from my job. This second round, I think, is going to be more stressful.
Layoffs persistently high. For the 15th straight week, more than 1 million Americans have filed new claims for unemployment benefits. We saw long lines at this unemployment office in Oklahoma today.
And Rebecca joins us now. So, Rebecca, let's just get a reality check here. Of course, it's great news that millions are back to work. But what does the fact that more than 1 million Americans are still filing unemployment each week actually tell us about the state of the recovery?
Well, Lindsay, it says that it's fragile and it's complicated. Those 4.8 million Americans who went back to work is a positive, but we continue to see companies having to make very difficult choices throughout this crisis. And even with the reopenings upon us, there are plenty of businesses out there that are saying we just don't know that we can make it. Now, when you have 19 states either pausing, delaying, or changing their plans for reopening, that again throws a new wrench in all of these plans around rehiring, where you see people now suddenly, in some cases, being fired, being laid off a second time around in this crisis, Lindsay.
Right, and of course we know that many unemployed Americans have been getting an extra $600 in their unemployment checks, but that's set to expire at the end of the month. Any signs that Congress might extend that? And where else could the federal government step in order to try to help avoid further job losses?
Well, today's jobs report essentially seals the deal, at least as far as the White House is concerned, on not extending that $600 benefit. But it doesn't mean that there won't be additional benefits when it comes to unemployment insurance. There's also a lot of conversation around a second round of stimulus checks out to Americans. These are something that was very important during the moment of crisis, as many states were shut down. But you can imagine, as we approach an election, Lindsay, that they will be incredibly popular with both parties. Lindsay?
Right. Okay. Rebecca Jarvis reporting for us tonight. Thanks so much, Rebecca. And when we come back, the parking lot confrontation. You won't believe how this allegedly began outside of a Michigan Chipotle and what happened when the cameras stopped rolling. 4 more years. How about as many as 16? We take a closer look at Putin's grip on power after an election many watchdogs are calling a sham. And later in the show, with so many hitting the roads, what are hotels going to do to keep you safe? Welcome back. One of the Aurora, Colorado officers being investigated for photos related to the death of Elijah McClain has now resigned. The department tweeting Jaron Jones was one of the employees involved in depicting in the photograph investigation. Now, the photos in question allegedly involved officers reenacting the neck hold used on the 23-year-old last August before he died. And next to that armed confrontation in a Michigan parking lot, it began with a white woman allegedly bumping into a black teen at a restaurant. She was with her mother, and it then escalated into an angry exchange with accusations of racism. And finally, that white woman pulled out a weapon. ABC's Alex Perez has this story.
She got the gun on me.
Tonight, after this disturbing video showing a white woman pointing a gun at a black mom and her teenage daughter, authorities in Michigan charging that woman and her husband with felony assault.
Two very different stories from two different groups. Both sides claiming they felt extremely threatened.
Those charges come after this video went viral. Tequila Hill posting it on Facebook Wednesday. Authorities say the conflict started after the parties allegedly bumped into each other at a Chipotle restaurant.
If she did something wrong, she needs to apologize. If she did something wrong, apologize.
This ignorant woman bumped into a 15-year-old.
Correct?
And you're on camera.
Okay.
You're feeling threatened.
The woman, Jillian Westenberg, claiming she was blocked from entering her car before her husband ushers her into the vehicle. Westenberg then rolls down her window.
This is not that type of world. White people are racist.
Hill then appears to move to the back of the vehicle, and that's when things escalate. As it reverses, authorities say Hill believed they were trying to hit her, so she pounded on the rear window. Westenberg storms out of the car with her finger on the trigger.
And Alex Perez joins us now. Alex, it seems like we're starting to see more of these kinds of confrontations caught on video, but this one certainly could have turned out much worse for everyone involved. What kind of punishment could that woman and her husband face?
Yeah, Lindsay, you know, the sheriff's officials today even talked about some of those tensions being high there in their area and across the country, asking people to please let cooler heads prevail. Now, if this husband and wife are convicted of felony assault, they could face up to 4 years behind bars. Lindsay?
Alex Perez, thanks so much. And still ahead on Prime, the shocking body cam footage from the protests a few weeks ago. Officers laughing while shooting rubber bullets, while protesters insist that they were being peaceful. Fighting for freedom, the WNBA star's pursuit of justice and how the man she helped get released from a Missouri prison is now responding. And how we view recent recessions may be tied to how we vote. But first, our tweet of the day. And this is a first. It's from Twitter. Welcome back, everyone. With new jobs and unemployment numbers out today, we want to take a look at how Americans view this economy and the surprising extent to which those views align with political party. By the numbers, 69% of Republicans describe the U.S. economy as excellent or good, compared to just 10% of Democrats who say the same, according to a recent poll by Quinnipiac University. On the flip side, 89% of Democrats rate the economy as, quote, not so good or poor, while just 27% of Republicans say that. And Republicans are much more optimistic. 67% expect the economy to improve over the next year, while only 29% of Democrats see that happening, according to a poll by the AP and NORC. Economic views weren't nearly this polarized during the 2008 recession, also an election year when up to 95% of Americans agreed that the economy was either poor or only fair, according to Gallup. And of course, President Trump continues to tout today's economy, saying it's springing back to life like a, quote, rocket ship, and called last month's jobs gain quite probably the greatest comeback in American history. And still ahead on Prime, the dramatic rescue after a seaplane crashes into a lake near Seattle. Meghan's reveal new details on why she reportedly felt, quote, unprotected by the royal family. And later in our show, a look at a little-known environmental regulation that the Trump administration has paused due to the pandemic and its potential climate impacts. But first, here are some of the trending stories on abcnews.com.
As at least 36 states see a steady climb in COVID-19 cases, President Trump claims the U.S. is making progress in the right direction.
Europe was way early, and they're getting under control. We followed them with this terrible China virus, and we are likewise getting under control.
But coronavirus task force member Dr. Anthony Fauci, speaking with the BBC today, refuting that claim.
What we've seen over the last several days is a spike in cases that are well beyond the worst spikes that we've seen. That is not good news. We've got to get that under control, or we risk an even greater outbreak in the United States.
Americans furloughed due to the shutdown returned to their jobs in June or found work last month. The government reporting 4.8 million jobs were added. But another report shows last week nearly 1.5 million Americans filed for unemployment.
Today's announcement proves that our economy is roaring back. It's coming back extremely strong.
this is the moment Fort Lauderdale city manager has called troubling. Body cam footage appearing to show officers laughing and celebrating after shooting rubber bullets at protesters. This footage of the protest over George Floyd's death from May 31st, first obtained by the Miami Herald, now leading to an investigation. In one of the moments, an officer mistakenly believes his body camera's on standby mode and not recording.
Yeah, I'm on standby. I just got the one from the gas.
The city's manager saying the footage, quote, paints an unflattering yet truthful depiction of the chaos those officers were operating in.
How are you both feeling?
Pulling back the curtain, new court filings reportedly reveal the strain Meghan Markle has been feeling while a part of the royal family. In her legal battle against the Daily Mail, Entertainment Tonight reports Markle felt, quote, unprotected by the royal family while pregnant with her son Archie, going on to claim that she was, quote, prohibited from defending herself against those tabloid claims. Markle's suing the Daily Mail for publishing portions of a letter to her father. She and her husband, Prince Harry, have since given up their royal duties.
The dramatic rescue after a seaplane crashed into Seattle's Lake Washington. Video showing the aircraft flipping over in the water about 200 feet from shore. 2 people exiting the plane, kayakers in the area helping pull them to safety. The cause of this crash is still under investigation.
Luckily enough, there was enough other people there that were, right on site.
It's not a bird or a plane. It's, well, we don't know. Today, we celebrate all those flying mysteries in the sky with the 20th anniversary of World UFO Day, raising awareness of unidentified flying objects, like this one, released by the Navy. It's an attempt to encourage governments to declassify any information regarding UFO sightings throughout history, just in case 2020 hasn't been eventful enough.
And speaking of eventful, now to Russia, where today President Vladimir Putin thanked his supporters for backing a constitutional amendment that will allow him to effectively remain president for the rest of his life, should he choose to run again, or at least until 2036. But anti-Kremlin critics allege large-scale fraud and outright ballot stuffing, as well as pressure on public employees to back Putin's position in the referendum. So what happened behind the scenes of that vote? ABC's Patrick Reevell has this story.
Vladimir Putin looking relaxed on Wednesday as he voted in a constitutional referendum that will allow him to extend his rule until 2036. Ever since Putin announced the vote, there was little doubt about the outcome. But the week-long referendum produced a huge result for the Kremlin. By the official count, nearly 78% of Russian voters backed the amendments. It means that Putin, already in power for 20 years, will now be able to run for 2 more 6-year terms as president. The Kremlin set such importance on the vote, it held it even as Russia's coronavirus epidemic has continued to worsen. But the day after the vote, Putin treated it almost as no big deal.
Я хочу обратиться со словами благодарности гражданам России. Хочу сказать спасибо вам большое за поддержку и доверие.
Putin made no mention that the change would allow him to stay in power. Throughout, he's acted as though the referendum was not about his future. Russians were asked to vote on over 200 amendments, including social welfare guarantees, and a number of conservative additions that write aspects of a Putinist ideology into the Russian constitution. Among them, a ban on same-sex marriage. His critics, though, had no doubt over the true purpose of the vote.
То, что происходило, это нелегитимно, это не процедура, это никакой не референдум, это полностью сфальсифицированное.
The key amendment resets Putin's presidential term count from 4 to 0, meaning he will be able to run again in 2024 and again after that. The move needed now, many observers believe, to head off a potential succession struggle. Putin telling state TV as much last month.
Знаете, я сейчас скажу абсолютно откровенно. Если этого не будет, года через 2, я знаю это по собственному опыту, уже вместо нормальной ритмичной работы на очень многих уровнях власти начнется рыскание глазами в поисках возможных преемников. Работать надо, а не преемников искать.
Вы для себя сейчас какое-то решение приняли?
Я для себя еще ничего не решил. Я не исключаю возможности если это возникнет в Конституции, возможности баллотироваться, посмотрим.
Authorities pulled out all the stops to get out the vote despite the virus epidemic, offering voters the chance to win cash prizes, even apartments. A Russian cosmonaut voting from space. Most usual safeguards to prevent fraud were removed. Over the course of 7 days, people were allowed to vote at work or at home. Kirill Trofimov, a member of a local elections commission in Moscow, said it was obvious to him that the ballot collection from homes was suspect.
Те, кто работал в бюллетене на выборах, знают, что для того, чтобы обойти за день хотя бы 100 человек, надо отправить там 2-3 группы, да, и они будут ходить весь день. А здесь за несколько часов приносят урну переносную, в которой там 200-250 бюллетеней. Ну, это сказки.
Opposition activists have accused authorities of simply fabricating the vote to get it above 70%. Some videos have emerged of apparent ballot stuffing. People arriving to find their votes had already been cast. Election observers have faced obstacles in monitoring the polls. This journalist said his arm was broken by police at a polling station.
Falsification that was found yesterday, it was the national record since the fall of the Soviet Union.
Roman Udot runs Golos, an election monitoring group that says it's gathered hundreds of examples of ballot fraud. As he came to meet ABC on Thursday, he was ambushed by a crew from a Kremlin TV channel. He told us they harassed him and asked him why he was talking with Americans. The channel later ran a report falsely suggesting Udot attacked the journalist.
It's usual practice in Russia. Our phones are tapped. When we agree for a meeting with foreign diplomats or journalists, all of a sudden NTV crew or some streamer would appear. It's directly connected with elections, directly connected with what happened yesterday in Russia and our attitude and our findings regarding this event.
Udot says he believes as much as 30% of the referendum's votes may be fraudulent.
But you have to understand that you can ballot box stuff with people. You can compel them to vote in favor. This is not free choice. This is not their free will. They are sort of ballot box stuffed, but in person. You can compel soldiers to do it. You can compel people who from municipal organizations. A lot of Russian business is not free in Russia. They are very dependent on local authorities.
Critics suggest such tactics were needed because in recent years polls show Putin's popularity has slowly begun to weaken. A recent survey from a state polling agency showed only 28% of Russians trust Putin, the lowest number on record and down sharply from 3 years ago.
We had this already 2 years dynamics of very gradual slowdown and the falling of his personal rating.
Denis Volkov from Russia's only independent polling agency, the Levada Center, says his polls show while most Russians still support Putin, it doesn't mean all of them approve of his decision to stay in power indefinitely.
The decision itself was very controversial. It's 50-50 in population, 50 who are against this decision, 50% are in favor of it. And so the announcement of this decision, it made his rating go down several percent more.
Putin, though, is still popular, and a referendum has shown how strong his ability to control Russia's political reality remains.
Я считаю, что наш президент лучший. И дай Бог ему здоровья, чтобы он вечно жил. И пусть даже на этом посту. Вот и все.
For ABC News, Patrick Reevell.
Our thanks to Patrick for that. And by car or by plane, with the pandemic dramatically restricting travel options, particularly abroad, more Americans are now exploring our beautiful country. But what are hotels and rental homes doing to keep visitors safe? Our Gio Benitez has this report.
It's the busiest day on the road of the summer as thousands head out on the great American road trip before the 4th of July. While travel is down dramatically, cell phone data shows that more than half of the states in this country are seeing more traffic than they did before the pandemic. Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, and Alaska seeing the busiest roads right now. Many of those drivers intend to stay at hotels and rentals like Airbnb. So what are they doing to keep us safe?
We are redefining our cleaning and safety standards.
Hotel giant Marriott releasing this video promoting its cleaning procedures. A lot of the same technology we've seen on airplanes, those electrostatic sprayers disinfecting hotel rooms and the buttons on the elevators.
A lot of the cleaning that you will physically see is going to be happening in public spaces. So when you're in a lobby, at the pool, in a workout room, in hallways, anywhere where the public is gathering or passing each other, you're going to see a lot more cleaning, people physically cleaning more than they have in the past.
The Beverly Hilton in Los Angeles using a UV light robot, which the manufacturer says reaches a 99.99% level of disinfection. But even with these measures, the CDC suggesting you take matters into your own hands, avoid the check-in desk altogether, and get a mobile key on your phone. Minimize the use of public areas like pools, game rooms, or fitness centers, and consider taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
What they should look for is that the hotel cleans the frequently touched surfaces often, and that they require everyone to wear a face mask when not in their hotel room.
And what about short-term rentals like Airbnb? After all, those are homes owned by private individuals. There's no inspection by the company. Hosts have to agree to Airbnb's cleaning protocol.
So what we require is those hosts who are participate in the cleaning protocol to attest that they are, in fact, applying it.
The company saying there's a 24-hour hotline customers can call if the room isn't clean. And now we are getting a sense of where people are going. Airbnb telling us for this weekend alone, more than 20% of the bookings are for listings in rural areas like the Adirondacks in New York and Blue Ridge Mountains in the Southeast.
And so what you're seeing on the Airbnb platform is those people looking to not necessarily travel overseas this year, but to do travel in their backyard, to do travel over hills, and explore things that are relatively close to them that they can get through by driving.
In fact, both American Airlines and United tell us that they are adding flights to mountain destinations in Montana, Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming. Many people choosing those outdoor trips right here in America. For ABC News Live, I'm Gio Benitez in New York.
Some helpful tips there. Thanks, Gio. And this was the reason that a WNBA superstar put her entire career on hold. The man she fought to free from a Missouri prison after 20 years is now out. Adrian Bankert has this remarkable story.
In that moment, I really felt like I could rest.
I'm absolutely elated and thankful just to be here in this moment right now.
We're having some technical difficulties with that piece from Adrian. When we return, our Ginger Z takes a look at a little-known law that you should know about. It's part of our series, It's Not Too Late, and remembering an ABC and broadcast legend who has left us.
It's a terrible question, but we used to ask this of people, so I'm going to put you on the spot. How do you want to be remembered?
I hope I'd be remembered as a guy who tried to do some good and who was in most important ways honest. I can't see any greatness that I would be remembered for, but if people think kindly of me, I'll be happy at that.
You can't see any greatness, but certainly a guy who tried to do some good and who was honest. Tonight, we are remembering the life of the legendary anchor Hugh Downs. For years, he graced our airwaves alongside Barbara Walters on 2020. Before that, it was NBC's Today Show. All in all, a broadcast career of more than half a century. For years, he held the world record for the most time on air, more than 10,000 hours. A steady and certainly welcome presence in millions of living rooms, signing off from 2020 on Friday nights with that signature phrase, "We're in touch, so you be in touch." Married to his wife, Ruth, for 73 years, Hugh Downs passed away this week at 99 years old. He will be missed. During the pandemic and the protests, what environmentalists call an existential threat to our planet hasn't gone anywhere. Tonight, we want to kick off our ongoing series on climate change. I'll let ABC's chief meteorologist Ginger Z explain.
Hi, I'm Ginger Z. What if I told you that the government could put a freeway in your backyard and you wouldn't have much of a say in the matter, even if it could pollute your land or groundwater? Seems wrong, right? Well, there is a 50-year-old law that makes that illegal, but that law is being changed, and that's why I'm sitting here with you today. I'm chief meteorologist here at ABC News. And that haze and smoke so thick, I'm getting pounded by the mist here.
Good morning, Ginger.
Good morning to all of you. I make a living forecasting the weather. We're talking more than a foot in parts of North Dakota, but it's a good thing I don't forecast headlines, because if you would have asked me back in January what the biggest story of 2020 would be, I would have made one of the worst predictions ever. I was certain that climate and environment would top the news. But we all know what happened.
The start of another week in the coronavirus pandemic, self-quarantined for 14 days.
Massive protests continue in many parts of the nation.
While COVID-19, Black Lives Matter, and police reform are rightfully taking center stage, our climate and environmental emergencies didn't go away. And since I'm a scientist and a journalist, I feel responsible to make sure that we don't lose sight of the planet's health while we watch our own. That's why we wanted to start this segment. It's not too late, because it really isn't. Each week, I want to take you through the climate and environmental headlines that you might have missed, and then focus in on one that you need to know more about. So, let's get to it. And it's something that you might not have heard much about, but you really, really should. On June 4th, President Trump signed an executive order to roll back NEPA. Not familiar? NEPA stands for the National Environmental Policy Act. It's the law that requires federal agencies to assess how their project might impact the environment and the people that live there. It's been around since President Nixon signed it into law in 1970. Many of us just take it for granted. It's the predecessor to the CEQ, the EPA, the everything that protects our air, water, and land. Mustafa Santiago Ali worked for the EPA for a couple dozen years, so I'm gonna let him fill you in.
You have to remember what was happening when NEPA was actually put together. You had the Cuyahoga River catching on fire, and you had this incredible amount of smog and other air pollution that was blocking out the sun. So folks knew that there were these foundational elements that we needed to have in law to finally begin to have a comprehensive plan to protect folks.
Or you can just go to the CEQ's website on NEPA, and they even boast NEPA is the Magna Carta of environmental law. And if you go back to why NEPA started, most roads are going to take you to, well, roads that were never built. In the late 1960s, as the Great White Flight was taking place out of cities and to the suburbs, the government started a plan for highway projects. Many of them went right through black and brown neighborhoods. This is in the time where the Black Panthers were joining forces with the Sierra Club. It was a time where civil rights was meeting environmental rights. And since then, NEPA has had some pretty important success stories. Like in 2007, when the California Department of Food and Agriculture was spraying toxic chemicals on schools, playgrounds, and neighborhoods. And then NEPA came in to help regulate that so that the people that were being sprayed could say, hey, please don't spray us anymore. NEPA also saved money and endangered species along with people's homes in Atlanta when a big highway project was proposed. They find alternatives. President Trump and his administration say that NEPA is slowing us down.
From day one, my administration has made fixing this regulatory nightmare a top priority.
On June 4th, the president signed an executive order to waive NEPA during the pandemic. That means that agencies can bypass NEPA's laws to boost the economy immediately. Champions of the environment and of people are extremely concerned because a key part of NEPA is making the public aware. And they say that in this arrangement, they don't have to let us know what's going on. So the freeway could potentially be starting with no public comment or restrictions on the public comment, and we wouldn't even know. That's just during the pandemic emergency, right?
You know, what's going on parallel to this executive order is also the rulemaking. The rulemaking is a much bigger deal because this is actually the formal process to permanently change NEPA, not just for COVID-19, but for the rest of forever.
Yep, the rest of forever. Any day now, the administration is set to modernize NEPA. Dozens of agencies agree that NEPA needs to change. They're behind them, and it includes the American Gas Association, the National Miners Association, some loggers, the Wind Energy Association, and even the American Sheep Industry Association. Yep, that's the thing. Why does NEPA need to be modernized?
If we as a nation want to be prepared to meet the challenge of the climate and to build an economy for the future, we've got to have a permitting process that allows us to do that. There's simply no reason right now to have a system that takes more than 7 years to even get a yes or no answer on whether you can build a new or improved highway.
And some projects do take decades to approve. But according to the congressional research reports that we read, those delays are not because of NEPA. In March, the proposed changes to NEPA garnered 1.1 million comments, and many of them were not happy. They were frustrated that the new set of rules didn't just modernize NEPA, but weakened it.
For example, one of the most egregious things the rule does is prohibits any consideration of climate change very expressly. It says that agencies should not look at the climate impacts of their projects.
My understanding within the rules set back in March or proposed in March is that one of them says that climate change should not be one of the elements that we look at for an environmental assessment.
Well, it doesn't say it that directly. It's a matter of how it looks at cumulative impacts. But again, I think what's important to note is that nothing in this changes the underlying statutes and the regulations that projects would have to meet under the Clean Air Act. This is about the process of being able to get the federal government permitting mechanisms in a much clearer place so that we can move forward on all of these projects.
Marty Durbin is the president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Global Energy Institute, and they all say that streamlining NEPA is long overdue. It'll help land management and protect us from wildfires. It'll get energy projects started, both pipeline and solar and wind, or else we're just not going to be able to grow the economy at an acceptable rate.
And what I would say to them is that since we first had the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act and NEPA and all the preceding acts over the years, the economy has continued to grow in leaps and bounds. And at the same time, we were able to lower impacts that are happening inside of communities and begin also to address some of the impacts that are happening from climate change.
So what can we do? You can go check out the changes that were proposed to NEPA. There's even a PowerPoint that'll lead you through all the points. I really didn't even have time to get into half of it here. I'm Ginger Z, and I promise it's not too late.
All right, our thanks to Ginger for that really informative stuff. And before we go tonight, our image of the day. Take a look at these newlyweds in Beijing sharing a sweet kiss during their photo shoot at a local park earlier today. You can certainly see why they picked the spot with beautiful flowers in the backdrop. But then some masked park goers walking down the path were also captured in the backdrop. Call it a photo bomb or simply a sign of the times. And our congrats to the happy couple. That is our show for this hour. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us, and good night.